Elevation Nation. Today, we are going to talk about an interesting topic, something that I think all of you are doing a really good job at right now. That topic is listening. Now, this came up as I'm reading through my daily Stoic journal. If you don't know, this whole year I've been every day writing in a daily Stoic journal you can get online. It's been really cool learning about Stoicism, and every single day I write in something. And this week, we're talking about practicing silence. And I think it goes so hand in hand with some of the findings that Parker and I have uncovered with talking with young people and how big social media is. In fact, they start the first sentence of this passage by saying, social media teaches us to have an opinion about everything. Silence beckons us to speak. We live in a loud culture, and we try to keep up by being loud in return. A little ironic, Parker, because we have a podcast where we get to be loud twice a week, every week, and put noise into the world. But what do you think about listening and why it's so important to embrace the silence?
Wow, it's a great topic. I think there's a lot to uncover here, and 15 minutes is certainly not enough to uncover this topic at all. Um, I think the first thing I think of when I heard you talk through what you were writing or you were reading in your book was, I think, for an example, is like when I'm in the workplace and you're in a meeting with a bunch of people, and um, there's this like underlying agreement in a sense that the most quiet person in the room might not be contributing, or that person is, not adding value to the conversation. And in my own head, I'm like, wow, if I'm not saying anything, I'm in that meeting and I'm not saying anything, but I'm listening very actively, no one really will know that because I'm not contributing to the conversation. But in reality, I think recently I've been trying to talk less and listen more and really understand what is happening within that conversation. So then if I do talk, there's that element of novelty. One, so like people listen to me because I'm only speaking, one or twice during a long-winded conversation, but then also after the fact, I've listened really intentionally to what was happening in the conversation and then can react accordingly instead of just talking, and not listening at all.
It reminds me of when we first started work, being in some of these meetings, not really exactly knowing what's going on, but I remember so vividly trying to think of some outside of the box question, some really insightful question that I could ask to contribute to the conversation, to make people know, one, I was paying attention, but two, oh, that Sam guy, he's smart. He's got good questions. He's really listening. And three, because I really had nothing of value to add, so I had to ask a question instead of making a statement. And as I got a little bit more experience, I then started adding statements. Now that I've worked my way up a little bit, if I'm not leading the call, I'm cool just listening. It's all good. I don't need to always say something to have my voice heard, especially if I can go off camera, smile and nod, and I'm on the meeting. People know I'm paying attention. All good. Don't need to say anything. But it's taken a long time to build up to that point.
Yeah, totally. And then on the other side, take out outside of work too. Like we live in this world where, to your point about social media, like we're always looking for that next thing or that next quick of hit of whatever. And I feel like social media has connected us more than ever before. And in that regard, like it feels as if the world is loud because everyone's talking at us. Everyone's, providing their inputs and thoughts about this and that, whether it's on the TV or the computer or the phone, or even when you're walking around, people are talking. And it's almost like the uncomfortability, I don't even know if that's a word or not, I think it is, with silence. Whereas Sam, you and I both know, you remember our little vacation, our little extravaganza out to the middle of absolute nowhere, we put our phones away. And even there were times where we were like, you know what? We don't want to talk to each other. I want to have this silence to observe, one, what I'm thinking and what's going on in my brain, but then also truly observe what's happening in the external world around me. The birds chirping, the bees swarming, the crackling in the leaves. That stuff, I think, is especially hard as a young adult because we live in cities, most of us.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, how do you try to find silence?
I think in New York City, it's really difficult because it's impossible to really find. And I think there's only really one place where I can truly find silence. And even there, it's hard. And that is the sauna. It really is the only place right now for me where I can truly be in a room where I don't have any technology and you can't hear cars honking and people moving and truly get away. It's a sauna for me.
Isn't that kind of sad?
It is kind of crazy. It's life
We have
as
to
a young person who
recreate.
lives in the city.
Have you felt that negatively impact your health? Being constantly stimulated all the time?
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about this last night. Great, great question. I was like, JJ and I are so busy with so many different things socially, we're traveling, work, this, that. I was like, wow, I haven't really sat and been in the apartment on like a weekday night in a couple of weeks. I was like, damn, what am I going to do? Right? Like, I want that stimulation. I want that. It's like my brain has almost been changed to like constantly need it.
So you like it and it hasn't
I
been
don't know
negatively
if I like
impacting
it.
you?
I don't know if I like it. I think my brain is getting more addicted to it, the constant stimulation by living
Hmm.
in a city. Whereas you know me, Sam, my dream is to sit in the middle of absolute nowhere on a rocking chair without
You are
any of
a
that.
long way away from that, my friend.
It's just
Maybe
funny
one day.
but it's just like to your point, like I'm gonna ask you a question, like about is being a young adult. Like most of us live in cities, and there's a
Hmm.
reason why people move out of cities is to get away from the clutter of life, in a sense, to have more space, more time,
Yeah.
less things happening around us. But I'm curious for you. I know you moved from a place like New York, which is constant stimulation, but I lived in DC. It also is loud. It also is noisy, not in the sense of taxi cabs all the time, but there's a lot of people, a lot of opinion, a lot of things happening down there. So I'm curious, what do you do to get into silence?
I mean, I think I meditate every morning. So that's one tangible thing that I do. Um, and I don't need complete silence. I just need no stimulation that I'm focusing on. So whether that's going on a walk, like if I'm listening and there's cars driving by or construction going or people or tourists going, that's fine because I'm not really focused on that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't really needed to find complete silence
Hmm.
here because I don't feel like overwhelmed.
Interesting.
Whereas when
So
I was in New York, I did feel like I needed to find complete silence because I was so overwhelmed.
back to our stimulation conversation and the point you made. You said that you don't need stimulation, but I'm going to push back a little bit because we've talked many times on this podcast about how you always need to be doing something or always needing to be check a box off. To me, that
Yeah.
sounds like stimulation. To me, when you're going for a walk, you're actively trying to check a box for Sam's mental health, and that's stimulating you in a sense, rather than just like
No, I don't
litter.
agree
Why not? Because when you
because
get back, you're
it's an
stimulated by
it's accomplishing something. It's not stimulating something.
I think you accomplishing something is stimulating yourself.
I disagree.
And I think you going for a walk is in your head accomplishing something.
That I agree with.
That's stimulating.
Sure. So like put me in what? a noise-proof, soundproof, vision-proof room. That's the only way you can be not
I'm just
stimulated.
saying, you're a goal-oriented person. I think goal-oriented persons are always looking for stimulating things like that. So it's
No, I
hard.
don't
It's
agree
challenging.
with you.
Okay, it's fine.
I mean,
You're
so
stimulated by accomplishing a goal. And you've said many times before that your whole day is about accomplishing goals. You're just constantly moving because when you're not, you feel I don't know,
but if
de-elevated.
my goal is to relax and read a book in silence with my phone off, that's fine. That's accomplishing a goal. I'm not being stimulated by doing that. I'm relaxing.
I think humans are just naturally always stimulated by different things, is what we're saying here.
Yeah, maybe. Potentially.
I mean, at the
It's
end of the
really hard to
day,
turn it off.
yeah, we have short-term attention spans. We go with our short-term needs and desires, and that's just innately at our core, like who a human is. Unless we're monks and we're literally
Unless
sitting
we're monks
in a
like
room
Jesse.
with absolutely nothing.
I agree. Tough to get away, tough to get in silence. But I think it's important to listen and embrace at least less stimulation every now and then.
Or different. How about different stimulation?
Or
Because we're going to
different
be, to our points
stimulation.
earlier, like light, like that gets us thinking a different way. Food,
Yeah.
smells. It's just the different environment, I guess, that we put ourselves in. It's an interesting conversation. Listening is very, very, very hard. I think talking is very, very easy for us. Letting people know our thoughts and desires and those types of things.
Yeah.
But just sitting back and listening, oof,
Not easy.
definitely not.
All right. Thanks for listening, Elevation Nation. Time for some elevator shout outs. I got an elevator shout out to elevator number 7. Parker, you know who that is? An OG. Coach Peter Fusilero. I had the privilege of spending the weekend with Pete, like I do many, many a days in DC. And some exciting news. Peter is going to come back on the podcast. We're going to talk about his new journey as a player development assistant coach for the Washington Wizards in his new role this year. A big promotion for Peter. He's worked his butt off. And they start training camp today.
Wow, today.
So he is in the lab. He is putting in work, and the players are all there, ready to go. We're very excited about that. Go Wiz.
Let's go Wiz. Damn. Well, Pete's coming soon. We're having him back very, 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 very soon, which is awesome. Oh man. Shout out Elevator 103 Max Linkoff. I actually got to catch up with him very recently, and it's just so cool to hear a story of someone who also is in consulting, but doing something on top of that, like starting his own coffee brand. And they're doing some amazing things with the coffee brand. Um, and he's not stopping. It seems like they're continuing to manufacture, deliver really delicious coffee. I've bought it before. Now I got to plug what the actual coffee brand is here, obviously. Let me get it for you, Elevation Nation. Sam, I'm excited to go to Columbia and try some coffee with you.
You better be.
It's going to happen soon, right? Very, very soon. Like 4 months, 3 months.
You like saying very, very today.
It's happening soon. Wait, I got to get this coffee brand because this is important to me. Here it is. Okay, I got it. It's called Felicia and Domingo Coffee, Elevation Nation. Felicia and Domingo Coffee, made by Max Linkoff. He didn't make, maybe he made the coffee. I don't know. Made the coffee beans, but pretty sweet. He's the man. Check them out. Go Peter. Go Sam. Go you, Elevation Nation.
Until next week. Peace.